moderator today. The last 2 minutes to settle down and then we'll start the program. So, hello na kayo sa mga friends, pero behave na after 2 minutes, okay? Intelligence and the Philippine Commission on Elections, cooperation with the for governance, for government and law reform. Pwede po tayong tumayo lahat for the national. For the COMELEC. And let's please give a big round of applause for the COMELEC Choral. They sing and look very well. Ano po? Okay, so welcome to the program. We'll first listen to the host of this conference, the Dean of the UP College of Law. And you probably remember her kasi lahat tayong may pag-ibig or pag-ibig members. So may we please call on Dean Darlene Marie Berberabe, the Dean of the UP College of Law. Dadala ko na.
Gusto ko muna pong bumati mga bisita natin ngayong araw na to. Honorable Chairman of COMELEC, Honorable George Irwin, and Dean, once a Dean, always a Dean po, Honorable Commissioner Ray E. Bulay, aking kababayan at sa Batangas, Honorable Commissioner Ernesto Ferdinand P. Macete, matagal na rin kayo. Honorable Commissioner Nelson, very pleased to meet you po. LEB Commissioner Lorenzo Reyes, Congresswoman Bernadette Herrera, walang kong Congressman Ray E. Reyes, Attorney Dana Paula Alberto from the Legislative Committee, Senate Philippines, Attorney IGLR, Associate Dean Solumba, the COMELEC Education and Information Department Director John Rex Laudianco, our panelists from the academe, civil society, media, and the private sector, and all our guests in attendance today. A pleasant morning to all of you. I'm honored to welcome you to the UP College of Law and open this dialogue on a pressing and unprecedented issue, the regulation of artificial intelligence in Philippine education. AI is now embedded in various industries, creating easier means to deliver services or build new solutions to problems. It is accessible to millions of people around the world, but in a country plagued by massive disinformation, AI can also and reliable. Similar videos were produced in the months that followed. Then a few weeks ago, a set of videos or reels again appeared in social media. This time, instead of endorsing a product, the manipulated video was used to alter a news report regarding a false Asia pre-election survey of a politician. Again, news reporters, this time in political science or as Professor Tihanki said, this may be killing of the upcoming. The irresponsible and malicious generated campaign thus has the potential to sow misinformation, disinformation, and among voters, undermining the credibility of our democratic process. Not just a hypothetical scenario happening right now. Thus, it is a problem that we must confront head. Recognizing the gravity of the COMELEC has taken proactive steps to address these threats. We thank the Office of the Commissioner in charge for the Digital Transformation Program and the Task Force Contra Fake News for holding the Stakeholders Forum Consultation Dialogue, significant step to discuss. We are privileged to have with us around 200 participants representing political parties, party list organizations, citizens' arms, relevant government and non-government organizations, and the academe. Your presence here today is a testament to our collective commitment to safeguarding the integrity of the election. Nagagalak po kami natuwang sa magandang umaga po.
Natin pababain si Dean, tatawagin natin ng Chairman ng Commission on Elections, Chairman George Irwin Garcia. A token of thanks. Maraming salamat. Again, big round of applause for the Margarine. Grabe. Ngayon po tayo makikinig sa isang message online ni Chancellor Edgardo Carlo Vistan ng University of the Philippines, Diliman Campus. Chancellor Vistan.
The Commission on Elections Chairman, George Erwin M. Garcia, for extending to me this invitation to deliver the main plenary speech in the Consultation dialogue AI and for an official engagement. I could not pass on this opportunity to somehow assist the Commonwealth in its efforts to solicit recommendations for the development of a policy that will regulate the use of artificial intelligence and deepfakes in our electoral processes. I believe that my years as an election law practitioner and my research in the field of law and technology have given me knowledge and insights worth sharing in this forum. So I hope you don't mind me delivering the speech through this video recording. Before proceeding, please allow me also to acknowledge and thank the UP College of Law and the UP Law Center for collaborating with the Commonwealth and for hosting this forum. The UP Law Center's mandate aligns with the objectives of the Commonwealth in holding this consultation. So I'm sure that the Law Center will gladly provide further assistance to the Commonwealth in crafting the needed legal instruments to address the threats posed by AI to our election process. And let me begin with this proposition that artificial intelligence poses a threat to our election process. I sense that we all somehow acknowledge the dangers posed by AI to the coming 2025 elections and beyond. We are aware of the content generation capacities of AI. For example, there are AI-powered applications that can use a photograph of myself and recordings of my voice to generate a video such as the one we're watching now, without my knowledge and consent. But probably not as good as this video, which I assure you is a real recording of a speech I wrote myself. If you watch long enough, you would visually catch the face characteristics of most AI-generated videos. The point, however, is that AI can be used to generate videos of individuals, such as candidates for office, to make them sing or do all sorts of things. We can imagine easily that such technology would be used to disparage or discredit a candidate. But we should also be able to imagine the possibility of a deep fake video of a candidate delivering arousing and convincing speech followed by information gathered from the internet. As I begin this discussion with the proposition that AI poses a threat to our election process, the policies and legal instruments that the Commonwealth intends to craft must likewise recognize that despite its myriad benefits or positives, AI can be used in the wrong way to affect a candidate's chances of winning and thereby needlessly disrupt our electoral process. Used this way, AI can damage a candidate's reputation, affect his or her family seriously, and, looking at the larger picture, muddle our democratic institutions to say the least. This is why we have cause for concern. This is why the Commonwealth is undertaking these consultations to come up with a viable policy response. Beyond this rather easy, if not obvious step to adopt a policy recognition or declaration of the threats posed by AI to elections, the task of coming up with more specific measures is much more difficult. It is unfortunate that I cannot engage in the discussions that we will have today during this consultative forum. Still, allow me to flag certain relevant insights and observations that should have an impact on today's mission. The first is this: when it comes to technology and the problems it creates, The best solutions are the quick and practical ones, and these may not necessarily, and in fact do not usually come from the tools and techniques of law practitioners and law enforcers. You might come to this forum or policymaking exercise with a lawyer's mindset, with a propensity to criminalize acts, with an inclination to come up with procedures that honor due process principles. But these have proven to be largely ineffective or irrelevant and really too slow for the fast-paced action in the digital world. Evidence in digital form can be quickly deleted or transferred to another site. Another maligning video can be released before law enforcement authorities begin to investigate one that was released earlier. In this environment, where does one seeking effective remedies go? The courts or legal processes are not agile or quick enough. On the other hand, those owning and managing websites and social media platforms have the means to quickly put a stop and monitor offensive content. The second point or insight is this. Putting a stop to the offensive digital content or practice should be a priority, while catching the offender should not be prioritized as legal institutions would for other offensive or illegal conduct. In the digital or cyber world, attribution has always been a major problem. In an internet where one could be an anonymous actor, it will take a miracle or utterly good fortune to be able to pin the author of cyber misconduct. The internet was designed to allow this anonymity, and no one has offered another internet design or architecture to remedy this. This is our internet reality. The difficulty of the attribution due to anonymity of cyber actors, and legal institutions are best served acknowledging this and fashioning solutions that move away from an offender-centered paradigm. If we can somehow accept these two insights, accept that our legal processes are too cumbersome for cyber or AI, and that focusing on the offender or the criminal will likely lead us nowhere, what does that leave us? Well, we can be more focused on the offensive conduct, the offensive content. Moreover, we can also be more focused on the victim. AI and cyber are too agile, too quick, as I have mentioned earlier. We will have a hard time catching up. So when we do catch up, the policies or measures we should be adopting must be quick and effective. Otherwise, the opportunity to provide a remedy will escape us. Finally, the victim can be part of a viable solution, providing an accessible and free or open stage, platform, or other means whereby victims of deepfakes or other offensive AI or cyber content can address, deny, clarify, or correct such content could be a more viable way of vindicating rights compared to court cases. I hope I have conveyed these ideas clearly, or at least clear enough for our participants to consider them during today's forum. If I have not been too clear, allow me to state them in terms that are perhaps more blunt. The world of cyber, AI included, has so far outmatched our legal institutions. To come to this resultative forum with solutions modeled after existing legal paradigms will therefore be counterproductive. I always say that technology is also the best way to combat the problems created by technology. I end or close this message with a hope, a prayer that our legal institutions humbly acknowledge their weaknesses against technology and work with other stakeholders, especially those working at the technological front, to come up with more effective solutions, particularly with regard to the threats or dangers posed by AI during the coming election season. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you all a productive day ahead.
Maraming salamat, Chachi. Ang kami po ng mga ibigay niya, no? Summary. Okay, sabi niya, actually, we should look at more proactive rather than reactive solutions. We should focus not so much on the offender, but on the victims and the survivors. We should probably look at actually an open, free platform where the victims would fight it off with those who deliver bad content. Okay, now we listen to the head the Commission on Elections. Actually, he's an alpha male when it comes to the pool of election lawyers he had. He's done it all, but now he manages election systems in the Philippines quite well, I think, and with a lot of reform promises na dapat pantinan. Wala po siyang bilyong-bilyong pisong pera, pero pinahin na yun, kaya huwag kayong manghihingi, dahil wala siyang pera. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of the Commission on Elections, George Erwin Chen.
Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Tingin po kasi ako na sila nakikita niyo. Lawyer ni Mayor Gu. O kung hindi, ang tao may 49 offshore bank accounts. Napakahirap po. Napakahirap ang pinasok mo sa public service, mabibigyan ka ng ganong klaseng tawag. May 49 offshore accounts o kung hindi, lawyer ni Mayor Gu. Kasi sa lahat ng pinapakita, sa lahat ng television, pagka pinapakita yung personality na yon, laging kasama ako doon sa tabi. Kasi resource person lang naman ako doon, Attorney Dana, kaya hindi naman ako lawyer o boyfriend yung sinasabi. Kasi po, ang daming kumalat na meme at saka, di ba, at saka sa TikTok na masyado daw akong kinikilig. Maraming salamat po sa UP Community, Dean Berberabe, sa Commission and Bank, sa lahat ng IT experts, sa political parties, sa party list, sa lahat ng stakeholders, interest groups, sa ating po mga Citizens Arm. Maraming salamat sa IFES. Thank you very much for coming over. Senate and the House of Representatives here at today's forum. Alam niyo po, and the COMELEC, senior staff and officials and employees of the Commission, to all of you. Alam niyo po, nag-cite ang lahat ng ito. When we proposed to the Commission and Bank a revolutionary idea, which at that time I already predicted will create a lot of fuss, a lot of discussion, not only in the academic community, but likewise in the entire community in the country. You see, we propose for the prohibition of AI and deepfakes. Alam ko naman po yun eh. Siyempre sa lawyer, alam ko po naman, when you use a general term AI, medyo may problem po tayo doon. AI po yun eh. First, is there any definition of artificial intelligence right now? An acceptable definition sa ating lahat? So there is none as of the moment. The definition of the IT community may be different from the definition of the legal community or the definition of the stakeholders of the commission or those interest groups of the political parties and parties and such groups interested in the country. So yung pala may problem. When we proposed that to the Commission and that was really intentional because we wanted a debate on the issue of prohibition. Can we really, or if we cannot prohibit, can we regulate? Or if we prohibit or regulate, what particular aspect of AI should we regulate or prohibit? And at the same time, there is also this issue of deepfakes. And I told everyone at that time, pag deepfake, fake nga eh. So bakit natin papayagan, fake nga. So wala na tayong pag-uusapan doon. That was my comment at that. But when this proposal was given to the Commission and Bank, I told them, perhaps it's high time we refer this to the Committee on Digital Transformation and the Committee on Contra Fake News. And perhaps we should conduct a forum. Our main intentions here, ladies and gentlemen, is number one, be able to decode, to be able to find out the intricacy of AI, of deepfakes, and sa bandang huli po, I will readily admit social media. I'm going to discuss that. So at number two, we wanted to draft the policy guidelines, the instruction that will guide our voters, that will guide the candidate, including more specifically the company. But there will be a roadblock, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the issue of social media. Usually yung AI, fakes, kanina pang binabanggit ni Chancellor, binabanggit ni Dean Berberabe, binabanggit ni ating host, Kamalu. Lagi naman sa social media, dinadaan ng lahat ng. Take note, we do not have problem when it comes to newspaper, television, radio, regulated under Republic Act 9006. Under 9006, television, 120 minutes per station. The case of ABS-CBN and GMA7 versus Vision on elections. At pagkatapos, sa radio, 90 minutes per station. And then they will have to submit to us all contracts entered into between the stations and the candidates or political parties or party lists. Ganun din sa newspapers, one half, and then the entire page, or at the same time, merong discount pa nga na binibigay ang mga stations as mandated by the Commission on Elections. But our problem is, do we have such regulation when it comes to social media? Before we discuss AI or even we discuss deepfake, have such kind of regulation. Here in the Philippines, not have social media regulation, just like also in the United States. Now attempting to regulate social media, there is no case in the US Supreme Court. Therefore, we'll zero in on the regulation. But the question is, how do you regulate social media when it may intrude into a purely constitutional issue of violation of the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression? Yun ang malaking problem. Ako kasi ang contention ko, ladies and gentlemen, when you file your candidacy, it's just a mere privilege. It's not an absolute right. We can regulate you nga eh. We can deny due course and cancel your candidacy. We can refuse to even give credence to your candidacy. Or we can disqualify you. We can regulate your movement during the election period, during the campaign, your expenditure during the campaign. Huh? So ibig sabihin, you are subject to regulation when you file your candidacy. And therefore, all aspects of the campaign, all media used for purposes of the campaign can be regulated by the Commission. Presently, ladies and gentlemen, nakikiusap po kami sa mga platform. Kung meron pong present na mga representatives from X, from Google, and maybe yung isang item o yung isang nasa. And it will take months. Tapos ng eleksyon, nasira yung pagkatao ng isang tao. Nabiktima na siya ng deepfakes, nabiktima na siya ng part ng AI na yan, wala na siyang habol. And the problem is, I would rather agree with the Chancellor. It should focus on the victim, but not on the culprit. But the problem is, there is a principle in law of nullium crimen, nullia pena sine lege. There is no crime if there is no law punishing. So if, for example, in our case, you know that we only require the submission of social media accounts to the Commission on Election for purposes. After that, how do we monitor? And be honest. How do we monitor? Paano namin monitor yun? 18,100 ang candidates. Ang magpapay ng candidates sa lahat ng positions ay 500,000. Sabihin mo na may 10 na social media account ng bawat, that's 50 million. How do you monitor the 50 million? E pagkatapos may mga fake accounts pa. Because what we wanted here is to be able to draft the guidelines to ensure equal opportunity for all candidates, political parties, and party list organizations. Otherwise, hindi na po yung regular media pupuntahan lahat ngayon. Hindi na po ang radio TV, sasabihin nila, konti na lang nanonood sa TV. Sasabihin nila, konti na lang nanonood sa nakikinig sa radio. Sa social media tayo. Kasi halos lahat ng mga Pilipino, may cellphone, halos lahat ng Pilipino, may access sa social media. That is the present state of things right now. Ladies and gentlemen, yun po yung problema natin. So, when we discuss AI and when we discuss things, we will definitely have to discuss social media. And fortunately, I'm hoping that you will be able to give to us a solution to our problem. The duty and the function of the Commission of Election under Article 9C of our Constitution is very limited to the enforcement and administration of election law. We do not have the power to promulgate laws. We do not have the power to enact laws, although we have the rule-making power under the Constitution. Such implied powers does not have the power to punish an act of which there is no law punishing it. So, thank you very much po. Maraming salamat sa inyong presensya sa araw na ito. Alam niyo po, we need your assistance. We need your support and help. Kasi po, this is the real issue of the day when it comes to the election. At least, because of all of you here, nadi-discuss po yung pinaka-importante issue na magiging problema natin sa election. Ayaw po namin maging inutil yung commission election sapagkat sa kawalan ng batas, wala kaming magagawa. Hindi naman po pwede yun. We enforce and administer election. We conduct elections and all the electoral exercise in this country. And therefore, we can be powerless. We can be inutil. With your help, we can do it. Thank you very much. Magandang umaga.
Philippine. I think we have a lot of lessons to learn from our next speaker. Actually, medyo pupunta po tayo sa kwentuhan tungkol sa batas. Pero that's precisely why this conference is being held. Want to have inputs on policy gaps in law. And there's no better spokesperson for the COMELEC than our next speaker, Director John Rex Laudianco, who is also Director of the Education and Information Department and soon to be launched Task Force KKK sa halalan. May K ba kayo? Palakpakan natin si Director Rex.
Ang umaga po sa ating lahat. Our Bulay Commission, Percelis, Inverbrabe, and to all the dignitaries around sa ating pong UP Law Community. Maraming salamat sa pagkakataong ito. Supposedly, my slot is around 10 a.m. after the stats. Pero lihim po ako nagdadasal doon na sana po nandito pa si Dean Berberabe by the time na umakyat ako. Kasi mama, I'm proud to say na nag-improve po ako sa namin talaga at naramdaman namin time ninyo ang pag-ibig ay may pagmamahal. At kapit mo ni Tita Malumay forever. Anyways po, what I'm about to present to you is not certainly not a complete and definitely not a for those but to give the overview because as you will see in my presentation, I hope it's ready. Slide number 1. Election laws in the Philippines are really quite dated. But I can say that even though it's dated, it doesn't mean that it has lost its potency. May dapat pa rin naman po. First, ang pinaka-basihan po ng COMELEC is certainly not the first law in Philippine elections, but the main comprehending of Philippine laws for to consider going 39 years old. It predates the 1987 Constitution. It provides a collection of all the laws prior to enactment, including the inclusion of several innovations, which our legislators at the time deemed proper. So ito po yung koleksyon ng mga batas, 1985, and again, wala pa naman masyadong internet noon, limited to Trimedia, radio, TV. But I have to emphasize, even on the first slide, please pakitandaan po this provision, Section 261Z11, and I'll go back to it later. Pakitandaan lang po yan. Right of the Electoral Omnibus Election Code being dated, so tayo walang laban. Next slide, please. The next law that I will be presenting is that the Election Reforms Act
RA 666. Ang dinidiscuss yan, inclusion of additional reforms, regulations pertaining to size, the history to say
about to wrap up. And again, pagdating dun sa mga airtime and drink, bawal magbili ng libre unless equal opportunity to all candidates. Marami pa siyang sinabi, pero again, binuhay din po yung topic na pag-chair Garcia and declaration so as candidate cancel COC, denial of due course, and disqualification. Next slide, please. The next one is Republic Act 7166, 1991, synchronized national and local election laws, mainly focused again on pre-proclamation controversies. By the way, the three laws that I mentioned, manual elections. Hindi po tayo tumutong sa automated elections. As you can see, mostly exists, mostly on COCs, mostly on fixed campaign periods, and ito na po, yung inaabangan natin pagkas ng statements of contributions and expenditures. Sinimulan na po yung pagbibigay ng duty sa ating mga kababayan, antayan natin yung gastos nila. At relevant pa rin po yan in our topic today because, of course, campaigning through the fourth media also involves expenses. Also, as you can see, again,
33 years ago, napakalayo. Next slide, please. We now go to Republic Act 9006. Medyo bago ng konti and pertains to a very important topic, the Fair Elections Act. But you can say again, that's 23 years ago. Haven't even considered the advent of the internet and the World Wide Web, tingin ko, sa larangan po ng batas. Ang maganda lang po dito sa batas nito, talagang maliwanag po na sinabi yung kapangyarihan ng Commission on Election. And if I may read yung policy of Republic Act 9006, the state shall, during the election period, supervise or regulate the enjoyment or utilization of all franchises or permits for the operation of media of communication on information for what purpose? To guarantee or ensure equal opportunity for public service, including access to media time and space. Ito po yung isa pang magandang dinulot ng RA 9006, the right to reply. And ultimately, the goal of RA 9006 is to ensure and assure that we have free, orderly, honest, peaceful, and credible elections. In fact, yung last statement po ng policy declaration na binanggit ko is really relevant to our topic. And if I may read again, the state shall ensure that bona fide candidate for any public office shall be free from any form of harassment or discrimination. Napakalinaw na policy statement ng batas na ito. Next slide, please. Little bit modern for the next slide. What we're using since 2010, the Automated Elections Law, of course, Republic Act 8436 is amended and updated by Republic Act 90, and still being used by COMELEC in pursuing automated elections in the country. It's because of the dictates of this law that COMELEC endeavored to update our system of elections. Kaya nga po, very proud po ang aming Commission and Bank headed by Chairman Garcia. At uli po, pinapaalala namin hindi po sales manager or marketing manager si Chairman Garcia ng Miru, kundi po siya po ang aming marketing manager at sales manager ng Commission on Elections. Kaya nga po kami sa COMELEC ay nagiging proud dahil nung nilabas ang teknolohiya, po hinayaan ng COMELEC at ang pamunuan ng Commission and Bank na ang dayuhan na kinuha na namin ang makina ang magturo at mag-demo sa ating mga kababayan. Agad-agad po, the instructions of the chairman was clear. It will be the COMELEC personnel who will roll out the technology, ensure that the people are Filipino people, the voters are familiar with the system. Kaya po makikita nyo in the next coming months, COMELEC will really be active from the main office to the field offices. We'll be going around demonstrating to the public. In fact po, bukas, sa pahintulot po muli ni Chairman Garcia, dadalhin po ng team ko sa kabundukan ng Kayapa, Nueva Vizcaya, Makina. At magte-testing po kami doon kasama ang ating mga indigenous. So mula po din sa automated elections law, focus on policies, the minimum systems, technical capability, Joint Congressional Oversight Committee, kasama po sila Ma'am Dana, Debbie, umaga po. Yan po nakafocus ang batas. But on the topic of what we have today, masyado. Going to the next law, sabi nga namin, slide please, ang pinakabago pong batas na panghalalan ay actually Republic Act 1190. Hindi nga po tumungkol technology kundi amendment ng batas. Ganyan na po ka-dated ang election law sa Pilipinas. But then again, I have to state, it doesn't mean that even if our election laws are dated, eh wala ng potency ito. Meron pa rin naman. Next slide, please. We go fast forward to the 2022. Oh, by the way, before going to that, meron pong batas. We have the Cybercrime Prevention Act, though not an election law, but nonetheless provides the state with an arm to combat the malicious, the wanton with bad faith use of technology, and of course, kasama na pinag-uusapan natin na social media, AI, and all. In fact, Cybercrime Prevention Act deals with cyber libel. Go to the next slide, please. Cyber libel is actually libel under the revised penal code, but updated to modern times. In fact, the same definition of libel was adopted by the Cybercrime Prevention Act, and for the benefit of everybody, a libel is a public and malicious imputation of a crime or of a vice or defect, real or imaginary. So kasama po yung talagang pangtutrol for any act, commission, condition, status, or circumstance tending to cause the dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural or juridical person, or to blacken the memory of one who is dead. And libel, through Cybercrime Prevention Act, and also under the revised penal code, can be committed by writing, print, photography, you name it. You can do libel in so many means, including social media. Next slide, please. Go fast forward to the 2022 elections. I think you need to hit twice. One more. What did COMELEC did in 2022? Despite the dated laws I have stated, but COMELEC utilized the arms that we have, utilized the existing law, and we promulgated COMELEC Resolution 10730. And 10730 for the first time mentioned the following words: blog, e-rallies, live streamings, we were able to tap into the mainstream internet World Wide Web and attempted to the best of our abilities to regulate and supervise social media. Though 10730 is not perfect, but it's the first step in doing what we intend to do and what we achieve today. In fact, we're able to register their official social media accounts. For the first time, perhaps this was pushed in the pandemic situation. Lahat naman tayo halos nasa online noon. COMELEC intended to be for online platform. 2025 is super why 2025 national and local elections. Ng parliamentary elections, the first ever parliamentary elections in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, not necessarily after that, barangay and SK elections. Going back at barangay, the politics. We are the powerless because we have the Constitution at hand. The Constitution specifically empowers the COMELEC, hindi lang po salita. We were given that arm. And in the next slide, you can see that during the election period, COMELEC may supervise, regulate the enjoyment of all for utilization of all franchises and permits for the operation or media of communication. So meron pong foresight ang ating legislature by the time na alam naman nila na darating talaga ang improvement. Kailangang armasan ng COMELEC pagdating sa halalan, to level the playing field and ensure that there is equal opportunity, equal access, and of course, yung tagline namin sa dulo. Meron po kaming tagline na binuo, katulong po si Tita Malu. Next slide, please. Kindly go back. Slide before that, please. Slide before that. One more. That's it. Okay. As you can see, again, from the Constitution, it is said that for purposes of public information and campaign, the supervision, the authority, the mandate given to the COMELEC to supervise the election campaign, all the processes related to it, really ensure of equal time, equal opportunity, time, space, right to reply. And the end goal of everything is free, orderly, honest, peaceful, and credible elections. Now, go to the next slide. Going back to the omnibus election, po ang omnibus election code. Facts, sabi po sa section 50, na sinundan yung rulemaking power ng COMELEC na ipinigil mula sa Constitution. It said that COMELEC may promulgate rules and regulations implementing the provisions of the Omnibus Election Code. In fact, I deem it best to include, this is in fact the fifth paragraph of the section, wherein in case of conflict between rules and regulations of the different agencies of the government, when it comes to elections, when it comes to election period, plebiscite, referendum, people's initiative, COMELEC rulings will prevail. Next slide, please. Also, in the Fair Elections Act, COMELEC is again iterated that it can, it may, it should promulgate rules in order to do this. Equal access, equal opportunities, and equal circumstances. Next slide, please. So, ahead of the 2025 elections, what we have done now, through the leadership of Chairman Garcia and the Commission and Bank, we had already formulated and launched the Committee for Digital Transformation, the DX, and also the creation of the Task Force Contra Fake News. Although fake news is a more common term, alam naman po namin for those in the tech industry, fake news is a perhaps not the most suitable term. Perhaps better to say disinformation, malinformation. But for the common people, the man on the street, they know that as fake news. So we have already initiated engagements with social media platforms. In fact, we really are thankful to Service for having us the 11 commitments from the international tech companies. And aside from that, we are here all together. Ang sabi nga po, Chairman Garcia, we're here to ask for help. Consulare, we're seeking to consult you. Because this battle is not for the Commission of Elections only. Lahat, all of us can be victims. And for those of you who are in the mainstream, mga nakikilala ko, we really need to stand. We really need to fight. In an ideal world, everything is laid down. We had the arms, we had the laws, but we're not living in a perfect world. But it doesn't mean that we won't do anything. It doesn't mean that we won't fight. And certainly, it doesn't mean that we won't be doing our part. We really have to do our part, each and every one of us. So to my last slide, please. And this is the tagline that I promised about our forum. What COMELEC will be doing in the next months after this is that gunning for katotohanan, katapatan, honesty, katarungan, justice sa halalan election. Katotohanan, katapatan, katarungan sa halalan. Di po, maraming salamat po. Magandang umaga po sa atin.
Na 3K daw po sugod mga kapatid. Lalabasan nito, katotohanan, katapatan, katarungan sa halalan. Sana pwedeng sa lahat ng plataforma. Anyway, our next speaker will give us a picture of many things that had been done, some things that had proved effective. Because I'd like you to remember two numbers, 30 and 50. Sir Michael Yard had served as Senior Country Director for Election Technology, served the International Foundation for Election Systems. That's his job today, but he has had 30 years of experience as an elections expert with established record in advising electoral management bodies on strategic planning, electoral management, voter registration, the publication of election results. Now let's go to the next number, 50. Mr. Yard has had experience in 50 countries during post-conflict transitions, has facilitated capacity building initiatives for election management bureaus, supervised civil and voter registration projects, and of course, he gets into technology for elections in a big way. Holds a master's degree in business administration with a focus on information systems from City University in Bellevue, Washington, USA. Possesses certifications from various prestigious institutions, including lifetime teaching certificate from California Colleges, a cybersecurity fundamental certificate from the Rochester Institute of Technology, a securing digital democracy certificate from the University of Michigan, and delivering data warehouse in cloud certificate from Microsoft. If you're not impressed enough, let's listen to our next speaker, Mr. Michael Yard.
Thank you for that. Not old yet. I've been I'm an guideline quite some technology. How to rate technology. I was asked yesterday that I would, first of all, use the guidelines to what is what are I would be covered. These have already been talked about. First, as chairman, it's a very surprise that is such a difference. It's even unique. Some of the solve problem. Use of language has been accepted. Respect. Recommend. Watching. So I think it's already significant. This is something talked about so much. Popular. He was telling you. And then Tom Cruise. That video. This was followed. Circular. President calling on you to just down your. We're both. Talk through the. Okay. To try. It's not all been talked about. Speak. The guideline. Start with the fact that it's a historic. Historic. This year. National says here. This year. Life is consultation with prominent volunteers. These guidelines, not the it's a recent but it's different. Just stop it. That fairness. There are guidelines, not enough consequences. Most important is that they offer in the drafting. It's a first step in dialogue, conversation about how do we, as the technology companies are not going at all. Their technology companies are not in the business of conducting free and fair elections. They're in the business of if inflammatory speeches and inflammatory deep fake videos get more views, then they're not going to be highly motivated to address them. But when we bring the technology companies into the room with election officials, civil society organizations, and we talk about how can we address this together, then we have some chance at least making some progress. And I think the guidelines that have been published now are a good example of that. So let's take a look. The guidelines start with the understanding that technology impacts every election. And before we jump into the guidelines, we'll take a look first at a review of the history of technology in election. Your director of EID talked about a history of election laws in the Philippines. I think that this parallels something that we've looked at for years, a pyramid of cheating in election. And I've talked about if I were going to try to, with the years of experience in different countries that I had, if I were going to try to cheat in an election, there are very efficient ways to do it. The first one is that we attack the canvassing of the votes. If I can take over canvassing, you can do anything else you want, and I'm going to win. But if we address the issue of canvassing, then trying to cheat and casting ballots becomes the most efficient way to try to cheat election. And if we've addressed that with the voting systems, the next place to address and try to cheat would be voter registrations. And if we have now addressed and tried to create good voter registration with integrity, where does this leave me if I want to cheat? Now I have to influence public opinion. And this brings us to how technology today impacts every election. And again, the chairman had said that this really is the issue of the day on election. I agree very much that this is where we have evolved to in terms of in elections properly influence outcome. Many of the discussions about implementation of election technology in the past have now been eclipsed by a larger. In the past, we talked about, again, biometric voter registration, automated voting systems, but now the bigger threat with AI fakes has eclipsed these. And in the inception of these, Raj Shah of the Rockefeller Foundation said that the Rockefeller Foundation is proud to have hosted a convening and supported this, which can help support democracy. And this is key, especially where it is developing or vulnerable. When I read that, it begs the question, tell me a place anywhere in the world today democracy is not threatened or vulnerable. Every country in the world is types of threats. And so it's important that we pull together international leaders in technology, international civil society leaders, and try to address the problems together in this. To address these challenges, the voluntary election integrity guidelines were developed, drafted at Bellagio, with input from all of the stakeholders that I just mentioned. And I would like to focus most of all, though, in this slide on the last bullet, which says that the continuous improvement and collaboration with stakeholders are key to advancing or enhancing election integrity. We've begun a pilot of these guidelines in Sri Lanka, and then also Philippines is a key leader in implementing and testing guidelines. And I think that's an appropriate thing. Philippines has always been a leader in election technology, biometric registration, automated voting, and much of the world has learned lessons from the Philippines. So it's appropriate that this is a place globally to look to for leadership and these types of guidelines as well. It also is appropriate because Philippines has what is probably no longer unique, but this was the first place in the world where I heard the statement that no politician ever lost a fair election. That always, there was a statement, you know, if I won, fair election. If I lost, you can't trust this. This used to be something that was in a few countries. The Philippines, I think, was one of the leaders, type of political contentious. But this means that because you have a history of this type of political tension, you also have a history of legal frameworks that helps to address these. And now you also become a leader in implementing guidelines of AI and deep fakes. Now, if we look at the main categories of guidelines, the guidelines are divided into categories roughly reflect the electoral cycle. This image is one that's been used for at least a decade, 2 decades, on the electoral cycle of things that happened before the election, things that happened during the election, and then it starts all over again. Cycle. The guidelines reflect that in that there is a section of planning and partnership, which before the election began to prioritize resources, engage with civil society and with one another, to define clear and transparent policies for election-related content, particularly regarding hate speech and inciting violence. Now, I think it's important to highlight here that goal is both to create clear channels of communication and to boost public confidence in who are trusted providers of information. If I have a question and if rumors are flying, where do I go to find out the truth? So if we have built these networks, we can provide that source. A great example of this during election operations period was that in Brazil, they created a network of 70 institutes who share information, and they can disseminate and amplify what the election says. So if the election has to get out a message that this false information is circulating, 70 organizations set up and amplify it. And it's key that these organizations don't even always agree with each other politically. So when they come together to say, but we are committed to combating disinformation, provides the authoritative force. The post-election activities really focus on maintaining coordination with partners and analyzing the process and the results of collaboration, and then getting input from stakeholders to improve the guideline. Now, I think there's a list of the 14. I'm not going to 14 guidelines, but there's a list of them outside and they're readily available. The goal of the guidelines, in conclusion, is mediation. That it's to have an ongoing dialogue between trusted stakeholders. Technology is changing at an ever accelerating pace, and we need to talk with each other. We need to learn from each other. The guidelines have to be adaptable, and we welcome COMELEC's efforts and initiatives in implementing the guidelines, forward to the information we get back from COMELEC to be able to improve the guidelines. If they can't adapt quickly, they'll quickly become obsolete. So thank you very much.
That was very good, no? Eye-opener. Really, we'll ask Chairman George Garcia again to give a token of thanks to Mr. Michael Yard. And one big round of applause first. And I forgot to ask you to also give a big round of applause to Director Rex Laujanco. Marami po siyang alam na batas kasi dati sa Law Department ng COMELEC. I stood before your snacks kanina, but now I'd like you to get your snacks after a photo opportunity session. I think that honorable commissioners and our resource persons would like a photo taken with everyone. I was advised that maybe our first probably go up stage, and then our commissioners and resource persons would stand in front of you. And if we could advise everyone, I don't know if you want to stand also because your photo will be taken anyway. So could we do this? May pay ba kayo? Okay, so symbol ba kayo, sir? Okay. So, photo opportunity lang po para meron tayong picture. Tapos mag-snacks tayo mamaya and then yung instructions para sa breakout sessions. Shall we ask the commissioners and also may we ask everyone para kasi masyadong may mga open spaces between seats. Ano? Parang hindi kayo magkakaibigan. All right. Can we ask the resource persons also and then the representatives of the Senate and the House of Representatives committees on electoral reforms, our very distinguished watchdog, citizen arms of the COMELEC, NAMFREL, National Movement for Free Elections, and PPCRV, Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. O, compress daw, pwede. Parang, oo nga, konti lang sa gitna lang po. Actually, parang hindi kayo sanay ng ano. Compress pa daw ho, para yung parang tipong tight na tight tayo sa isa't isa. At of course, nandito din po yung Legal Network for Truthful Elections. Partner po namin sa Right to Know Right Now Coalition. Pwede nyo ba magdikit, parang naghati ang mga kababaihan at kalalakihan, ano po? Right. Susunod to, maglilitratuhan tayo muli. I'd like to ask everyone to take a break and probably get your snacks and then return in 15 minutes for our instructions on the breakout sessions. Okay po ba? So it's about 10:40, 10:50. Pwede po bang bumalik tayo ng 11:05? Okay lang po? We'll introduce